missing pages of our family's story are gone forever. The gene mutates. Life, defiantly, goes on.
A second generation survivor, I think that could be your parent might have been a child in hiding, or your parent might have been in a concentration camp. And just like their experience were different and spanned the whole dimension of different ways that people went through the Holocaust as victims, that also then affected second generation survivors. For my father, I think that he and his sisters were sort of in what I think of as the golden cohort. If you could be a golden cohort within this horrible tragedy, they were old enough that they had a sense of identity and who they were. They were young enough that they didn't have their own young families. So my dad had, my dad was 16 and then 17. His sisters had boyfriends, both of whom they married after the war, but they weren't married yet. They didn't have children. And so I think having a parent who went through in that cohort is a very, very different thing from having a parent where this is their second go-round on a family. They had a family, they had a spouse, they had children, and they lost all of that. And then they have to trust the world enough to do it over again. And all the randomness and all the scary things in the world, from traffic to potential world war, they have to worry about all that stuff with having had their babies taken away, their children killed. And I think that probably affected the way they raised their children.
I started feeling responsible for taking care of my parents. I learned English quickly, spoke well, and sometimes knew American ways better than they did. And they trusted me. I also started feeling that after going through their terrible life previous to coming to America, the least I could do was give them nachas. They wanted to be proud of me.
I was only 10 years old, but I understood then that my mother had always hoped she could somehow console my father. "You are the proof that Hitler failed," she'd tell my sisters and me. I was an adult before I realized my father was inconsolable. He would never be nourished enough to heal.
To be labeled a survivor is a very precious achievement that is both an end and a beginning. It involves not only going through a personal trial, but also gaining victory over those circumstances to which we were subjected. That very victory brings with it significant challenges not to be ignored.
During the war, his tormentors only knew him by his number B4343, a tattoo they branded on the inside of his left forearm. His strength and courage persevered, even though his entire family, except his twin sister Margot, was violently murdered by the Nazis. Which means, in essence, I too lost my entire extended family. I never had the opportunity to love and be loved by them.
My husband always says, "For every blessing, there is an equal and opposite curse." He uses this statement backward or forward to prove his point about almost everything. So now I must really analyze instead of just roll my eyes or sarcastically say under my breath, 47 years, here he goes again. I know that my life was a blessing to my parents. I was delivered to my depressed and undernourished mother in 1946. I was a symbol of both unimaginable loss and at the same time amazing possibility for future happiness. Yesterday, I went to see her at the nursing home. She is blind and 97 years old. She immediately grabbed both of my hands and kissed them sweetly while telling me how much she loved me. I know this is a blessing of tremendous magnitude. I will remember her happiness at that moment for the rest of my life. Then, according to my husband, the opposite side of the blessings must be acknowledged. I still remember feeling cursed, like an outsider. We were so clueless about everything. My parents spent their lives working and had no time or inclination for joy. I felt shy, different, and lonely, and longed to be like the neighborhood kids. I wanted to have relatives and cousins to visit. I see life differently today. I have great pride for my parents' courage and work ethic that allowed me to grow up and have this happiness of life overflowing with the blessings that make every day a joy to experience. Is this the equal and opposite of the curse that my husband keeps speaking about?